All right, so we have a lawyer and a political analyst, Jide Ologun, in the studio with us. Good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Jide. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Now, this issue of direct primaries or indirect primaries, it seems that it's threatening the internal peace and cohesion of the APC. The APC is saying, look, this is the way to go. As a matter of fact, we're hearing now that the APC is looking at coming up with a constitution to ensure that direct primaries, will guide future elections.
Yeah, by the constitution of APC, you can embrace the direct or indirect. So it depends on who is affected now. And I think for quite a number of the governors, it's easier for them to attend to the delegates that will come for the indirect primaries than to confront the real democracy, the real internal democracy, where registered party members can come around to decide who runs for them. And I think that is what should be the concern of Nigerians now, because we've come to the point where whoever emerges at the primary level is the one you will use your PVC to vote into office. So if eventually the candidate that is developmental in aspirations does not emerge, we continue to dance around the same circle. And when you talk of the direct primaries, I think that is what really represents democracy. Democracy started in Athens in Greece and is the government of the people, by the people and for the people. And everyone could come together then because of the population to decide on the affairs of the society. But as we kept growing, you must come to a point where you introduce the concept of representative democracy, which also must ensure that the societal fortunes are enhanced, because we have two basic aspects of democracy. We have the procedural, which we are battling with. How do we emerge to come and serve? Then we have the substantive element of democracy, which is the product of producing a government template that will embark on policies that will be implemented to deliver the security of lives and properties, meaningful welfare of the people, and create enabling environment, which we bring together to refer to as national development. You see, so, and that is where we are now. And you can see now, one other thing we must learn now is that time flies.
True.
So when you get to office, if you have a vision, embark on a mission that will help you achieve, so that what you have achieved will stand.
Will speak for you.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, it seems the leadership of the APC at the national level is bent on this direct primaries, but the governors, on the other hand, don't seem to like the idea. Now, it brings us to the issue of consultation. Do you think something is lacking? There's a missing link in the area of initial consultation, for at least to have everyone on board.
Basically, democracy itself is a reflection of relationship. And what is relationship? Relationship is the way two or more people, groups, states, or nations relate with one another. And if you don't have a good relationship, you will have difficulty maneuvering through your processes. And what we are beginning to have now is that if you come for direct primaries, for instance, your relationship with the wider class may determine your success or failure. But sometimes we drive transactions above relationship. And that's why, if you permit me, there's a concept in the scripture that is, like a walking stick for me. And it's Amos 3:3. Says, can two walk together except they be agreed? So, and that's why you find situations where those who were very friendly at the beginning begin to throw tantrums at each other. And really, God respects relationship. I mean, when he created the Garden of Eden, it was a concept of relationship. Hey, let's work together to make this project work, until that relationship was dealt with. So you find this in politics. For example, for the defectors, an average defector in Nigeria has defected and redefected because the relationship management is faulty. And again, it's becoming more difficult for those driving the governance process, because they are not paying attention to the relationship between the government and the people. You see, I was in the US and I met an Israeli who was interested. Oh, where are you from? I said, Africa. Oh, and I said, Nigeria specifically. Oh, that your country, you used to have problem between the people and the government and the military. And I smiled. You see, so it's about relationship.
But
and
really,
if this does not work, it will be difficult.
Have we been able to determine exactly, especially at the political party level, why we are in this relationship in the first place? Is that the fundamental problem? Has the why been, determined so that we're able to now say this is how we want this relationship to be?
Yeah, if you look at the manifesto of a party, for example, political party, for example, you appear to see a great vision, and that persuades the electorates to vote. I think the problem we have is the gap between expectations and experience. Somewhere along the line, a lot of these promises are not fulfilled, which is a breach of relationship sanctity also. All right? And it must create problems for you. So if, for instance, you look at Nigerians and say, okay, these people have invested so much goodwill to bring us in. Can we focus on electricity and make sure that in the next 9 months, 1 year, there is constant electricity in Nigeria? You establish that base. And that base enhances your acceptance from the people as you deal with other problems. But when all the problems are hanging, the people who look forward to benefiting, they feel disenchanted. And definitely, what should you expect from them? And that's why we have all this agitation. That is why someone like me does not believe it is difficult to fix this country. If only we can go back and look at what governance is all about. Governance is about improving the society.
Yeah, but that is where people are going to say it is very difficult to fix Nigeria. Because when you say let us go back, that's us, the concept of us. Because everyone sees the us from different perspectives.
Also, that is the place of leadership. I tell people, if God assumes that everyone will behave normally, he will not establish the concept of leadership. So you are now the one to streamline your processes to achieve what you have promised. And of course, except you are deliberate about it, you are not likely to achieve it. Because someone said, if you cannot manage yourself, you cannot manage time. And I think that is where we are as a nation. And of course, the fact that the people, quite a number of times, are not demanding what they are entitled to. I cannot imagine that there will be power failure in Canada for 1 month, in a community there, and the government will have peace. You see what I mean? So it's like we now have, and that's why people are quick to react that, okay, we have some godfather somewhere who know how to keep the people in a corner, all right, and have their way.
All right, so the concept of godfathers, it's interesting that you even mentioned that now. Those who are debating on the side of direct primaries, they're saying, look, this is a very easy way, a good way of, taking back the electoral process. Both the results, of course, the process and the outcome from the godfathers and the money bags, taking it back to the people. The APC sat down and looked at the direct primaries used in Katsina in the by-elections and the other states, and of course the Osun primaries in the governorship.
Kaduna state.
And Kaduna, and it worked. No litigation, nobody came out to say, no, we're opposing the outcome. So they're saying, look, this is actually the way to go. And as far as the presidential, election is concerned, this is what we're going to do. But did the APC get it wrong by opening it up, leaving it to the discretion of the states to decide whether they will use, direct or indirect primaries?
Yeah, you won't say that they got it wrong because, I mean, they must have consulted.
Okay.
It's now a matter of who is in the eye of the storm. So if a governor looks around and discovers that, hey, direct primaries will not favor me. He will want to throw around his influence to say, let's go for indirect primaries. And the party has opened it up that even though we are recommending, you still have a choice between direct and indirect. But my concern is that I think we should focus more on performance, because a lot of concepts are being reintroduced at the higher level to our political community. For example, we are beginning to hear about vote buying. Even silent, sophisticated vote buying. You know, and it's dangerous.
Which is even more dangerous, yeah.
What that does is that it keeps the people in the corner of poverty until an election year comes around and they throw peanuts at them and the job starts again. The big money bags recover their money, because I'm wondering if I must pay 45 million to purchase
your nomination form.
I mean, that is an aspect of my resources. And with the concept of Nigeria,
you want to recoup.
And that is just for the form. So what about the processes? Mobilizing the electorate, taking care
campaigns
of your... Exactly. And that is why the total package for the presidency, for example, is about 1 billion. That's a huge amount, man. And I'm wondering that, can we begin to fix this country and bring down the cost of electioneering? If, for instance, you get your nomination form for 2.5 million as a president, and you fix the country in a way that it becomes difficult for another candidate to rise up to challenge you.
Yeah.
We may even say, don't pay for the form.
So be free.
By and large, it will become more difficult for the people and the government if we don't do the right thing. And that's what we are seeing now.
All right. You said that democracy has two sides, the procedural aspect of it and then the governance aspect of it. Yes. But certainly we know that one leads to the other.
Yes.
Because certainly there has to be a process of legitimacy first, where everyone accepts this is the right way to follow, and you followed it, and then you get to the level of governance where we can hold you responsible or accountable. Now, the legal advisor of the APC, Babatunde Ogala, seemed to have been giving a directive to amend the constitution and ensure that the direct primaries is adopted at all levels of electioneering process in the political party.
The APC, yeah.
Now, we also are aware that the governors are not comfortable, like we have all read and all of that. What larger implication will this have going forward into 2019, if at all that mandate has to be carried out right now?
You see, the Chinese have an adage that the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. If anything should be done to the Constitution, go ahead now. Don't even premise it on 2019. Okay. Life is a life is generational.
Yes.
We will get out of the stage at a point. We had the great Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the Azikiwe, and that is what we are telling this country. If our Constitution does not project the developmental potentials, visit it. If it favors you today because you are there, it can work against you tomorrow. And that's why I'm shocked that people are in this party, they praise that party. They jump out the next day, they roll out all the evils of that party. So there is a document that binds us together as a people. It's a relationship issue. If it's not in the favor of many, there is something wrong there. You see, so whether it is at the national level, state level, or party level, if you see anything that may not, and that's the essence of strategy. Strategy means a long-term plan for success. If you discover this thing is not likely to make us progress quickly, you deal with it, not for your own sake. And that is where national interest comes in. When you begin to do things to protect your interests at the detriment of others, you are not nationalistic.
And isn't that why you have provisions for, amending the Constitution and even the Electoral Act or bill that we've been talking about? We have, you want to believe that over time they have looked at the electoral process and they have seen loopholes, and they're saying, look, this is what we need to fix the electoral process so that we can come to the place of providing good governance, for the people.
You see, the evil of loophole is that it has the capacity to favor one side
against the other.
Against the other.
So it still goes back
and
to
that
the issue
may
of
turn around.
seeing
I
it
have
from
said
the
it,
self-interest
and I
point
hope
of view.
some are learning.
Yeah.
If you are in a position to deal with corrupt people and looters, now, why not? When you live there, they may deal with you. You see, so can we protect the country? Can we project the greatness of the nation? And that is why we look at some advanced countries of the world where the focus, I mean, they tell you the state law prevails. I used an analogy, you know, some immigrants were just arrested, put in an aircraft to send them out of the U.S. And a judge gave an order that that aircraft should return to U.S. That wasn't possible. But when they got to destination, they did not move them from the aircraft. They flew them back to the U.S. And that is the checks and balances we are talking about. Respect for the rule of law. And that is why we can all come together and say, yes, we are going higher. We are. But we hear these expressions when politicians are coming to address the people. But when it comes on delivering, that is when you hear some saying, we can see your poverty. It's not our poverty anymore. We can see that you are hungry and we are doing something about it. It's all about us. The safety of one is the safety of all. The insecurity of one is the insecurity of all. And that is how a society can actually develop. And that is what we are. I'm just advocating that we should not exalt politics above governance. We have the elements of good governance, but that's not the discussion for today. And is there a guide? There is a global guide. It is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that will be assessed by year 2030.
Yes.
You see, and we can key into it, and it identifies the major areas of development. Talking about infrastructure, institutions, you know, zero tolerance for poverty, for hunger, you know, and there is an aspect of it that gives us the partnership leeway. And that is why I'm glad that Nigeria is also trying to leverage on the global opportunities that is coming from the trade war going on around the world. Right, but also, we must ensure we are at an advantage. You know, I was listening to the chairman, you know, listening to a report by the chairman of EFCC, how much we have recovered, about $520 billion. And yet, despite that, we are going to borrow, is it $328 billion from China? So how do you benchmark that? So I believe that when politicians discover that it's a privilege for them to serve, and that whether they serve well or not, they will quit the state someday, and they will be remembered. And someone said that you make a living from what you earn, but you make a life from what you give. So we should begin to give to the society, to develop this society, and let God be happy with us. And
all right, Nigerians have been watching and seeing how their governments from one dispensation to the other are not doing actually enough to handle some of these things. Remember the MDGs.
All kinds of promises.
Exactly. Yeah. You talked about the SDG. Even before the SDG, there was the MDG, which Nigeria didn't meet lots of the goals. Now we have the SDG now, which a lot of people still have the fears that Nigeria may not also meet all the goals, going by how things are now, except something changes. But
Ologun, a lawyer and political analyst, you have done justice to this issue this morning. Let's hope that the food for thought that you have given out there, political players will chew on it and see what they can do.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.